In the crystal coffin of the funeral home lay my wife, 8 months pregnant. The forensic doctor said that the gaps under her fingernails were filled with river bottom silt. On the day of the funeral, I smiled and calmly signed the cremation papers in front of the mourning hall. 3 years later, at a club reunion, the corpse that should have rotted long ago was straddling my buddy Fernando's lap. Her tongue curled with cream as she smeared it onto the man's Adam's apple. The black stockings under her miniskirt had a torn hole, perfectly revealing the rose I had personally tattooed on the inside of her thigh. Isn't this my psycho ex-husband who went crazy after his wife died? She pressed the tip of her high heel against my knee. I heard you hugged my portrait and lived in a psychiatric hospital for 3 years. How pathetic. Since you're so pitiful, I'll give you a chance. Come be a dog for Fernando and me. Kneel every day to put on my shoes. Lick clean the floor I walk on. If you behave well. She lifted her foot slightly, the high heel dangling in midair. Maybe I'll reward you by letting you catch it with your mouth. I let out a mocking laugh. Who are you supposed to be? Juliet didn't know that during the years she had been dead, I had married the daughter of the richest man, and my son was already 2, when the Rolls-Royce stopped at the club entrance and my wife came over holding our child. She fell to her knees, screaming, "How dare you marry someone else? You swore you would only love me." I wrapped my arm around my wife and chuckled. You actually believe what a madman says? Chapter 1. I had just acquired this club last month. When I came for an inspection today, I happened to see Juliet. She was wearing a leopard print miniskirt, showing off a sultry pole dance on stage. Her moves were skilled and provocative, and the skirt fluttered high, revealing spring scenery beneath. Juliet's moves are insane. Fernando is gonna be over the moon tonight. Fernando, with the way she's twisting that body, I bet she practices on you like you're her personal pole every day. Lewd laughter and whistles erupted from the crowd below. Fernando curled his lips smugly. Claude, that loser, hugging a memorial portrait and crying every day. Who would have thought his wife is with me every single day now? Juliet swayed down the stage like a temptress. How could he ever compare to you? Then she batted her eyes, voice silky. When you don't want me anymore, I'll just go back and find that pathetic simp. Someone jeered. Damn, sis, this fake death game has been going on for 3 years and you're still not sick of it. But sis really does have charm. I heard Claude lost his mind after you died. Went crazy. Got some kind of mental illness. Now he goes wild whenever he sees a woman. Their booth filled the entire place with raucous laughter. I turned to leave, but the manager hurried after me, lowering his voice. Boss, the guest in VIP 3 already owes 160,000. Judging by today, he plans to skip out again. He pointed directly at Fernando's table. At that moment, someone spotted me. Well, if it isn't Claude. Instead of going crazy at home, you came out here to embarrass yourself. The moment Fernando saw me, his expression darkened. So you're Claude. Juliet sat facing him on his lap, straddling him, licking cream off her fingertips as she sneered at me. Heard you went nuts after I died. Too bad, I don't remember any of it. Since you're so pitiful, I'll give you a chance. Come serve as Fernando's and my dog. Kneel every day to put my shoes on. Lick clean the floor I walk on. If you perform well. She lifted her foot, letting the high heel sway in the air. Maybe I'll reward you by letting you catch it with your mouth. Juliet was still the same, arrogant eyes, chin raised, as if nothing in this world was worth bowing to. 3 years ago, I adored this look of hers. Seeing it again now, it only filled me with disgust. A group of people snickered and mocked. Claude, you should be grateful. Juliet lost her memory yet still gives you the chance to be her dog. You better kneel and thank her. Yeah, look at you, 3 years of living worse than a person, becoming a mental case. Sis isn't even disgusted by you. If you agree, at least you'll have something to eat. Better than being a beggar like you are now. Fernando wrapped an arm around Juliet's waist, kneading her as greedily. He grinned at me. Claude, we were best bros. Helping you take care of your wife was the least I could do. But now, he intentionally kissed Juliet's neck. Your wife loves my style. So why don't you start by pouring us tea and serving us? Serving us is already doing him a favor. If I wanted, he'd jump off a building without complaint. Looking at the two of them, I couldn't help but laugh. One used to be my best friend. The other used to be my beloved wife. One who'd once helped me generously when my career collapsed. The other who dashed into a burning building to save me. Her arm burned, still bearing the bite mark I left when she forced me to stay conscious. Yet the sight of them now, fingers interlaced, was more scalding than the flames that once surrounded me. I lowered my gaze and asked coldly, and who might you be? I came today to ask when all of you plan to pay back what you owe the club. Chapter 2. Motherfucker. You think this club belongs to you? The booth burst into laughter. So what if we're running a tab? I'll pay whenever the hell I feel like it. Who the fuck do you think you are? Juliet leaned close against Fernando, grabbed a glass of alcohol, and poured it straight over my head. Claude, did you really think pretending to be the owner of this club would make me look at you differently? She turned to Fernando, lifting her red lips. Honey, Isn't he just a delusional toad dreaming of eating swan meat? Fernando brushed a kiss against her lips. Baby. He's not even a toad now, more like a guard dog at best. The manager beside me tried to speak, but I stopped him. Slowly, I raised my left hand. The wedding ring on my fourth finger gleamed coldly under the lights. Juliet. Look closely. I'm married. Married. She suddenly burst into shrill laughter. Claude, do you even know who owns this club? He's the precious son-in-law of the richest family, by seniority that makes him Fernando's uncle. And a nobody like you dares pretend to be some rich young master, believe it or not. A wave of disgust twisted in my chest. I didn't even know since when I had gained a good nephew like Fernando. Seeing my momentary distraction, Juliet snatched the ring right off my hand. Pain knotted my brows, and just as I opened my mouth, her voice cut in, dripping with mockery. This cheap plastic ring, the kind you can buy 3 for $10 at a night market, and you dare pretend you're the richest family's son-in-law? I wouldn't touch it even if it were free. You're really out of your damn mind with poverty, aren't you? The crowd erupted in even louder laughter. She casually tossed my ring into the wine bucket before her, completely fearless. My fists tightened. That ring was handcrafted for me by my wife using the Oppenheimer blue diamond. Small as it looked, it was worth tens of millions. Facing their ridicule, I snapped. I'm not pretending. The ring is real. The words barely left my mouth when Fernando hurled a wine bottle at me. Blood streamed down my face in bright red trails. For a bit of pride, you could pretend to be anything, but you chose to pretend to be my uncle. Look at you, dressed like a damn bum claiming to be the richest family's son-in-law. That's comedy gold. Juliet, watching the blood pour down my face, had a flicker of distress cross her eyes, before she jumped into the river. We had been as inseparable as conjoined twins. That summer, we visited a small seaside town. She insisted we wake at 4 in the morning to watch the sunrise at the lighthouse. They say wishes made here really come true. She leaned against my shoulder, the sea breeze messing up her hair. What wish did you make? I asked. She shook her head mysteriously. If I tell you, it won't come true. Until I sorted through her belongings after her death, I hadn't known. Behind our wedding photo, she had hidden a lighthouse postcard. On the back, it said, I want to love Claude until our hair turns white. In that moment, my vision blurred with tears. Someone suddenly kicked me hard from behind, dragging me out of my memories and back into reality with a surge of pain. Juliet slapped me several times, looking down at me from above. Stop acting crazy. There's 100,000 in this card. Take the money and crawl back to your rented apartment. I abruptly lifted my gaze. You still owe 60,000. Fernando scoffed. You've been acting insane for too long. You forgot how normal people behave. Juliet is giving you money. Get lost already. I swallowed, the metallic taste rising in my throat. Not a cent less than 160,000. That's what you owe the club. She stared at me, disbelief flooding her face, unease flickering beneath. The bystanders who came to watch the drama laughed hysterically. This lunatic still thinks he's the richest family's son-in-law. The thugs watching nearby laughed so hard they slapped their thighs. I've seen shameless beggars, but never someone this desperate for debt collection. Shit, did you pawn your underwear too? Chapter 3. The club manager was breaking into a cold sweat. He hurried over to help me up, but I signaled for him to stay silent. I extended my hand, staring straight at Juliet. The money and the ring. She glared at me, flustered. Isn't the money in the card enough for you to buy a real ring? I didn't understand where her emotions were coming from. Wiping the blood off my face with one sweep, I spoke with stubborn insistence. You owe the club money, not a cent less. And my ring, you're returning it. Juliet raised a brow, smirking as she pushed a bucket of high-proof liquor toward me. Your ring is in there. I reached for it, but she slapped my hand away. You want it? Drink the whole bucket. Fernando chimed in from the side, amused. Claude, drink it and I'll even add 60,000 for you. Not a bad deal, right? Juliet knew perfectly well that alcohol would send me into anaphylactic shock. In the past, whenever Fernando tried to force drinks on me at the table, she would always step in front of me, small figure trembling, eyes red. He can't drink. I'll drink for him. Cup after cup. She shielded me. Now, she was still the same person, but she stood in the shadows, cold-eyed, watching as Fernando gripped my jaw and forced the entire bucket of liquor down my throat. The alcohol burned through my esophagus. My vision blurred, but I kept my eyes locked on her. My trembling fingers slid into my pocket. When the pen tip pierced my skin and blood mixed with spilled liquor, the sharp pain forced me awake. I needed to watch the very last drop go down, because the bottom of that bucket held what I treasured most. I shoved Fernando's hand aside, reached into the bucket, retrieved the ring, and carefully wiped it clean with my sleeve before putting it back on. Juliet suddenly grabbed my hand like a madwoman. What the hell is so precious about that stupid ring? I frowned and said coldly, let go. She glared, teeth clenched. You still need 60,000, right? 1 week from now. Come to XX Hotel to get it. If you don't come, You're a coward. I stared at them with icy calm. I'll be there. Make sure the money is ready. The manager escorted me out of their booth. Once outside, my body gave out and I leaned heavily against the wall. Fernando's buddies suddenly grew nervous. Claude is so stubborn. What if he really is the richest family's son-in-law? I saw the manager sticking to him the whole time. And Juliet, didn't you swear he'd guard your grave forever and never remarry? What if you overplayed your hand? Juliet snorted coldly. He's acting. Look at that broke-ass outfit. You think a billionaire's son-in-law wears a 50-yuan t-shirt? She exhaled a smoke ring, tapping her high heel against the floor with a rhythmic click. Just can't stand seeing me and Fernando in love. Suddenly, she grinned, baring her teeth. When we get married, I'll walk up to him, shed 2 tears, and say, actually, I loved you. She inhaled deeply, then crushed the cigarette out on the booth. You think that lunatic wouldn't drop to all fours and play dog for us on the spot? Fernando's friends roared with laughter. Sis, you're amazing. You've got Fernando wrapped around your finger, and that simp still panting after you. Look at you. Fernando laughed as his hand cupped the softness on her chest, pulling her into a hot, deep kiss. Whistles erupted all around them. Leaning against the wall, I heard everything. My heart froze over completely. The manager supported me as we walked out of the club. Boss, do you need an ambulance? I assured him. No, I have medication. I fumbled in my pocket and pulled out an epinephrine injection. The moment the needle pierced my skin, it felt like a bucket of ice water crashing over me. Thinking back to everything that had just happened, nausea overwhelmed me. I retched uncontrollably. Juliet didn't know. On the night before she jumped into the river, I had received her farewell message. Chapter 4. My hands trembled as I opened my phone. That anonymous text stabbed into my eyes like a blade. Claude, you think Juliet ever wanted to have a child with you? She'd rather die than keep being loved by you. Tomorrow is the death anniversary she carefully picked. What a coincidence. The same day as your proposal anniversary. Below the message was a photo. Through a grainy lens, Juliet's pregnant belly rose and fell beneath another man. On her face was an expression of pleasure I had never seen before. The date stamped in the corner was clear. Exactly 1 week before she jumped into the river. So on the day the rescue team declared her lost and unrecoverable. When everyone thought I would collapse, scream, break, fall apart, I merely took her belongings with a blank face, quietly threw them into the fire, and burned away every last piece of love I ever had for her. News of Juliet being alive spread quickly. Friends and relatives bombarded me with questions. Soon after, on WeChat Moments, Fernando posted their sweet wedding photos, with the caption, "Even if you were once kissed by a dog, I don't mind. I still love you the same." My relatives, after reading that, looked at me with pity again. Juliet then sent me a voice message, and I could imagine her expression even through the screen. Pitiful and mocking all at once. "Hey, you pathetic simp. Next Saturday at XX Hotel, don't forget to come pick up your 60,000 tip." She deliberately dragged her voice. "Consider it a little wedding gift from Fernando and me. Enough for a loser like you to eat instant noodles for half a year." I quietly noted the location, then blocked her. The club manager listened beside me, silently clenching his fists. A week later, their wedding was held as scheduled. I had the driver stop the car 1 kilometer away from the hotel. 4 people, that disgusting. I no longer wished for them to know who I really was. When I reached the hotel, Juliet and Fernando were at the entrance greeting guests. "Look, the dog is here. Come to get your reward." I ignored the insult. "Give me the money. I'll leave now." Juliet scoffed. "You think the reward is that easy to get? Kneel down and kowtow 3 times. Then maybe I'll consider giving it to you." I stared at her coldly, eyes sharp as blades. She faltered, turning her head away. Suddenly, Fernando kicked me hard behind the knees. I collapsed onto the ground, kneecaps slamming against the marble floor with a heavy crack. His groomsmen swarmed in, dragging me like a dead dog to the doorway. One grabbed my hair and smashed my forehead into the ground. Crack! A burst of red exploded across my vision. Crack! Warm liquid slid down my brow into my eyes. Crack! I heard the guests gasp, and the sound of bone fracturing. Enduring the sharp agony, I forced myself upright. "Juliet, give me the money." Juliet ripped off her veil, her blood-red nails practically jabbing into my face. "Claude, is this all you amount to? Losing your fucking dignity over 60,000? Her voice was shrill like glass scraping against metal. "I told you I lost my memory, and you still kept acting like some tragic lover. And now look at you, switching careers to be a beggar." Fernando wrapped an arm around her waist and let out a mocking laugh loud enough for me to hear clearly. "Baby, you still don't get it." He stepped on my fingers, the ones barely supporting me on the ground. "This rabid dog can't get over you. Heard he went insane when he thought you died. Now seeing you get married, he's about to lose it again." His spit sprayed across my face as he sneered. "Why don't you kneel and bark for us? Maybe I'll have the mercy to toss you a piece of wedding candy. I lifted my head through the blur of blood in my vision. His gloomy face came into focus. Juliet leaned in quietly, her fingertips brushing the blood on my cheek. Making such a big scene, is it just to make me feel sorry for you? She slipped a blood-stained key into my palm. The old apartment, I kept it for you. When I get my memories back, the one I love will still be you. Juliet, stop making a scene. Bleeding at a wedding is a bad omen, a relative whispered, unable to hold back. Fernando urged her to stand up quickly so they wouldn't miss the auspicious hour of the ceremony. Gritting her teeth, Juliet hardened her expression. Security, pick him up and throw him into the fish pond at the entrance. Wash all that blood off him. The guards looked troubled. There are decorative crocodiles in that pond. If we throw him in covered in blood, he might not come out in one piece. My face drained of color. The pain left me speechless. Juliet hesitated only for a second. Fernando pinched her waist from behind, and she instantly barked her order. Throw him in first, then fish him out. In the pond, the crocodiles smelled blood. Their eyes gleamed with hunger as they opened their massive jaws. Suddenly, a Rolls-Royce sped toward the entrance. The club manager swung the door open, and my wife stepped out, heels clicking sharply against the ground. Our child in her arms, she strode toward me and spoke in a voice that shattered the entire scene. Who dares lay a hand on the son-in-law of the richest family? Chapter 5. The security guards dragged me aside, leaving a trail of blood smeared across the floor. My son struggled in his mother's arms. Mom, put me down. Bad people are hurting Dad. My wife's eyes were red as she set him on the ground. The bodyguards followed closely behind the little young master. People began whispering when they saw my wife and son walking toward me. Who is that woman? Don't tell me Claude really got married. That woman just said, son-in-law of the richest family, when she got out. Don't tell me she meant Claude. Juliet's fingers tightened around her wedding gown, unease flickering in her eyes. Fernando raised a brow and made a call. Then, looking smug, he announced loudly, everyone, I've already contacted my uncle. The real son-in-law of the richest family is on his way. Claude, you fraud. You think dragging along a random woman and kid to cosplay a family, then borrowing a luxury car, makes you the richest family's son-in-law? When my uncle arrives, you're dead. We'll peel your skin off. I lowered my head and let out a cold laugh. My wife wrapped her arms around me, her touch painfully gentle as she wiped the blood from my face. Then she looked up sharply at Juliet and Fernando. You shameless cheating couple. I want to see who exactly you've called over. Manager Wong, get the family doctor here. My husband needs a full examination. Hearing the command, the club manager ordered the bodyguards to form a protective circle around us before running off to fetch help. Juliet glanced at her watch. She snapped at the security guards, pull that woman and child away, and hurry up, throw him into the fish pond. If he isn't clean, don't fish him out. Then she raised her voice, forcing fierceness into it. If you delay my auspicious hour, can you afford the consequences? Didn't my husband just say his uncle is the richest family's son-in-law? The guards, terrified, quickly lifted me up toward the crocodile pond. My wife gave a single gesture, and the bodyguards instantly subdued the security guards. I dare any of you to try. Fernando scoffed and signaled his groomsmen. They rushed from behind. The front bodyguards were still holding down the security guards and didn't notice the ambush. By the time they realized, I was already hoisted up, inches away from the crocodiles. Still, I felt no fear. I looked at the groomsmen and said calmly, how much longer are you planning to let yourselves be used? Did it never occur to you, what if I really am the son-in-law of the richest family? If you throw me in, what happens to you afterward? Thought about that? The lead groomsman's hands trembled. He almost dropped me straight into the jaws. In that brief moment of hesitation, the bodyguard struck and pulled me back to safety. 7 or 8 groomsmen were knocked to the ground in seconds. Juliet, panicked now, tugged Fernando's sleeve. Fernando, he wouldn't really be the richest family's son-in-law, right? Fernando sneered. Him? Look at what he is. My son Ian, eyes swollen from crying, seized a moment of distraction, ran straight to Fernando, and bit down hard on his leg. Fernando screamed and kicked, sending the child flying like a rag doll. My heart split open, ignoring the pain tearing through my wounds. I lunged forward and crashed my fists into Fernando's face. 10 heavy blows, each one sinking into flesh with a dull thud. Behind me, my wife screamed Ian's name, voice breaking as she scooped up our bleeding son. Just then, the hotel doors burst open. Heavy, orderly footsteps shattered the chaos. Black-clad bodyguards lined up on both sides as a middle-aged man entered slowly. Sharp suit, silent authority, a presence that made the entire hall fall dead still. Fernando froze, expression stiffening. His lips trembled. Uncle. The men didn't spare him even a glance. He walked straight toward me, and under everyone's disbelieving eyes, he bowed deeply. Young master, Forgive me. I was delayed on the way. Juliet's wedding gown rustled violently as she stumbled backward, her high heel snapping with a loud crack. I wiped the blood from my face and lowered my gaze to Ian, who had fainted in my arms. Softly, I said, "Uncle Morales, take care of the young master and my wife." My wife suddenly grabbed my arm, her nails digging into my skin. Following her furious gaze, Fernando was dragging himself toward the side door, leaving a long smear of blood behind him, trying to run. I laughed, stepping forward, the blood-stained leather of my shoe pressing down on his fingers. "Tell me, who were you waiting for again?" Chapter 6. Fernando's fingers cracked beneath my shoe, the sound sharp enough to make teeth ache. He screamed, lifting his head, his face drenched in blood and cold sweat. "Claude, who the hell are you?" His voice broke with pain. Juliet collapsed onto the floor beside him, panic twisting her expression. I pointed at the gash splitting my forehead and at my mangled fingers. "You think you're worthy of knowing who I am?" Fernando's eyes darkened. He spat at me. "You're nothing but trash." Then, like a rabid dog, he suddenly lunged at Uncle Morales's trouser leg, clutching it as he wailed with snot and tears. "Uncle, you have to help me, this low-life bastard." He yanked open his blood-stained shirt, revealing the bruises on his chest. "Look, he tried to kill me. He ruined my wedding with Juliet. Uncle, you have to stand up for me." Uncle Morales slowly crouched down, his polished leather shoe pressed against Fernando's face as he said lightly, almost casually, as if discussing the weather, "Fernando, you want me to stand up for you?" Suddenly he grabbed Fernando's hair, forcing his head up. With his other hand, he pointed at me, blood covering my body. "Do you have any idea that the man you wanted thrown into the crocodile pond is the real son-in-law of the richest family?" Fernando's eyes widened, disbelief warping his face. "Impossible. Uncle, this is impossible. You're the richest family's son-in-law." A cold smile curved on Uncle Morales's lips, a smile like a dull knife scraping bone, chilling everyone to the core. He released Fernando's hair, then slowly pulled a handkerchief from his suit pocket and wiped his hands clean, as if he had touched something filthy. "Son-in-law of the richest family." He lowered his gaze to the collapsed Fernando, eyes filled with pity as though looking at an insect. "I am merely the steward, an occasional problem solver, of young Master Claude." The words detonated in the hotel lobby. Guests gasped in shock, one after another. Juliet's face drained of color, her carefully styled hair fell apart, her whole body collapsing like her bones had been pulled out. I stood up with unconscious Ian in my arms. Blood from my wounds dripped onto the carpet, blooming into dark red flowers. "Uncle Morales," I said softly, "clean this up." Suddenly Fernando burst into manic laughter. "Claude, you think this means you win?" He yanked a dagger from inside his jacket. "Even if I die, I'm dragging you down with me." Bang. The gunshot exploded through the hall. Fernando froze, the dagger still in midair. A bullet hole bloomed in his arm. His eyes rolled back as he toppled backward, falling with a hard thud at Juliet's feet. Juliet released a shrill, inhuman scream. She scrambled backward on all fours, dragging her wedding dress through a foul, wet streak. She had lost control of her bladder. I covered Ian's ears and nodded toward Uncle Morales. "Thank you." As I turned, I caught a glimpse of Juliet being dragged away by bodyguards. Her fingernails scraped 10 bloody streaks across the floor as she shrieked, "Claude, Claude, you swore you'd only love me in this life. How could you marry someone else?" I wrapped an arm around my wife and laughed softly. "You even believe the words a lunatic says?" Little Ian stirred in my arms, his small hand instinctively clutching my collar. My wife leaned closer, eyes red. I lowered my head and kissed her trembling eyelids. "Baby, why did you bring Ian here?" Her tone carried a hint of anger. "Thanks to Manager Wong, I was taking Ian to visit our father today. Just as we left home, I got his call saying you might be in danger." Her fingers tightened around my sleeve, knuckles pale. "He told me everything. I was so scared I didn't even change clothes." I grabbed Ian and rushed over. My trembling fingers brushed Ian's pale little face. Blood stained the corner of his mouth. Suddenly my wife seized my wrist. "Claude, look carefully." She turned my face toward the wrecked hotel lobby, forcing me to take it all in. "Remember every face here. They showed you no mercy, so we owe them none." The grand doors slowly closed, sealing away all the filth and madness behind us. I tasted the blood on my molars and let out a low laugh. "Good. If they insist on playing this game, then I will make sure everyone learns what the real cost looks like." Chapter 7. The family doctor examined both Ian and me. He said my skull was fractured and I needed complete rest. I couldn't move for now. Fortunately, Ian only suffered superficial injuries. During my recovery, Uncle Morales brought me a video. In the video, Fernando was tied to a metal chair in a warehouse. Gauze over the gunshot wound in his left arm soaked with dark red. His face was contorted as he screamed hysterically, "Morales, you old dog, you two-faced bastard, I called you uncle to give you respect, and you help an outsider screw me over. Uncle Morales' slap sliced through the air, each strike cracking like a whip. This slap is for disrespecting your elder. And this one, for using my name everywhere to scam and swagger around. The slaps grew heavier, blood mixed with broken teeth splattering onto the wall. Finally, he grabbed Fernando by the collar and lifted him up. His voice was soft enough to make the skin crawl. Now, we need to settle the debt you owe for touching our young master Claude. The camera shook violently. A metallic clang rang from off-screen. Fernando's curses stopped abruptly as a red-hot metal rod slid into view, molten droplets sizzling as they dripped near his crotch. I heard you enjoy kicking children. Uncle Morales' voice carried a chilling amusement. The shadow of the iron rod danced across Fernando's face. What a coincidence, our CEO just acquired the entire city's urology hospital. The video froze on the spreading, suspicious stain in Fernando's lap. Fernando shrieked like a wild dog whose tail had been crushed. His face streaked with tears and snot. Claude, Claude, my worthless little life isn't worth your trouble. He tried crawling forward, the iron chair screeching horribly across the floor. Treat me like a fart. No, no, I'm not even worth a fart. Please, spare me. He suddenly choked and coughed violently. Bloody foam dripping from his lips. I'll be your horse. I'll let young Master Ian ride me. Just please stop torturing me. Young Master, should we handle him now? Uncle Morales' voice came from off-camera. I stared at Fernando's twisted face on the screen, my fingers gently stroking Ian's brow, still furrowed even in sleep. No hurry. Let him taste what rust mixed with blood feels like first. At Uncle Morales' signal, two men in black stepped forward and forced Fernando's jaw open. MFF. Cough, cough. Ugh. The chunk of rusty iron was forced down Fernando's throat. His entire face flushed a dark purplish red like pig liver. Veins bulging, eyes protruding as if they were about to pop out. He thrashed violently. The metal chair screeched across the floor with ear-splitting noise. You dared pour alcohol down our young master's throat. Now you get to taste rust. How is it? Uncle Morales leisurely wiped his fingers. If you knew it would come to this, why push your luck? The video suddenly switched angles. In the corner of the warehouse, Juliet was tied to a chair, her makeup smeared across her face, watching everything in terror. Her lips trembled, but no sound came out. She could only shake her head frantically. Almost forgot about her. I chuckled softly and tapped the screen. Let her have a taste too. From off-screen came the sharp clack of high heels on concrete, followed by the ripping sound of fabric tearing. Juliet finally broke down and screamed, "Claude, you lunatic, I'm calling the police." I let out a low laugh, tapping the armrest with my fingertip. How funny. Back at the club, weren't you all saying I was the lunatic? If you had simply paid back what you owed the club, everything would have ended right there. I slowly stood up, my voice turning colder and colder. But you insisted on crossing the line again, and again. I grabbed the glass on the table and smashed it onto the floor, shards exploding everywhere, and you even dared to lay a hand on my son. Juliet collapsed with the chair, knees hitting the floor with a thud, sobbing until her makeup dissolved entirely. Claude. Claude, I was wrong. I was really wrong. Her trembling fingers clawed at the edge of the screen, desperately trying to pull the video toward her. I've always loved you. It was all Fernando, that beast. He forced me to fake my death and lie to you. You have to believe me. Juliet shrieked, fingernails scraping the floor until blood streaked beneath her hands. I regret it every single day. Fernando held a knife to my neck and forced me to act. She pointed wildly toward the corner. Check his phone. All the threatening messages are still there. Chapter 8. Uncle Morales immediately had someone bring Fernando's phone to me. I unlocked the screen, and the truth was laid bare before my eyes. That farewell text that once drove me into hell turned out to be written by that bastard. I scrolled through those horrifying chat logs, each message stabbing straight into my heart like a knife. All these years, Fernando had been manipulating Juliet, as if he were training a dog on a leash. 8 tonight, same place. If you dare tell Claude, I'll leak his company accounts. Tomorrow find an excuse to pick a fight with Claude. I want to see him suffer. Remember to record his reaction when he gets the death notice. I want to keep it. The latest message was from the night before at the club. Tomorrow, when all my guys are here, you better behave. Otherwise, I'll have Claude thrown into a cement mixer. The phone in my hand creaked under the pressure, as if it couldn't bear the weight of it all. So the person I cherished in my palms all these years had been nothing more than a puppet on strings. Forced by threats to my life, she'd acted out one cruel scene after another. On the screen, Juliet burst into sobs. Claude, I was forced. Do you believe me now? I really love you. In the video, Juliet covered her face, breaking down, tears leaking through her fingers. Now you finally understand. Every time I left you, it was because I had no choice. Her voice suddenly fractured. Claude. I truly loved you. Juliet suddenly ripped open her collar, revealing the hideous scar across her lower abdomen. Her voice hoarse like sandpaper scraping. Back then, I was pregnant with your child. Fernando dragged me into the operating room. Her nails dug deep into the scar, fresh blood seeping down her fingers. When I lay on that operating table, the one I hated most wasn't him, it was you, because you couldn't protect me. I stared at her trembling figure on the screen, a dull ache rising in my chest. But the next second, Ian's cough sounded clearly from beside me. It's not that I didn't protect you, it's that you never told me any of this. And telling me now is already too late. My heart beats for only two people now. One is my wife, who's in the study brewing medicine for me, and the other just learned how to write the word daddy. Juliet's pupils contracted violently a few times. Then she let out a small, broken laugh. She slowly wiped the tears from her face, her nails scraping bloody lines across her cheeks. Claude, let me go. I was wrong from beginning to end. I was stupid enough to be controlled so easily. Now I don't want anything anymore. I betrayed you all these years, that's the truth. I have no face to ask for forgiveness. I just want you to let me go. I'm going to that island, to finish whatever is left of my life. I didn't respond, only gestured lightly to Uncle Morales to let her leave. Uncle Morales ordered his men to remove her restraints and drape a coat over her. Juliet staggered to her feet, but the coat slipped from her shoulders, like a shattered shell falling away. From outside came the sound of a car horn. A black sedan waited in the curtain of rain. At the doorway, Juliet suddenly turned back. Claude. She reached a trembling hand toward the screen. But the moment our eyes met, her fingers curled back. I wish you a future full of happiness, a peaceful life. Rainwater mixed with blood pooled at her feet. Before she stepped into the car, I glanced toward the entrance. My wife was standing there, holding a bowl of medicine, looking at me with gentle eyes. Chapter 9. I lifted my head toward my wife, who was leaning against the doorframe. There was a faint, almost teasing smile at the corner of her lips. You heard everything. Carrying the bowl of medicine, she walked toward me. Her warm palm settled on the tense back of my neck. Remember when we first met? You were drunk every day. Your shirt buttons always mismatched. Her fingertips brushed the crease between my brows. And now, I finally see that same light in your eyes again, the one you had back then, when you were the captain of the basketball team. Amid the soft scent of medicine, she suddenly pinched my earlobe, a little habit she had whenever she knew I was hiding something. Can you tell me the truth now? Her gaze drifted toward the distant car lights disappearing on the screen. Here, her slender finger tapped the center of my chest. Is it really all clean now? I tightened my grip around her slightly cool fingers, pressing the back of her hand firmly against my heart. Here, has been spotless for a long time. What trapped me back then wasn't love for her. I looked into her eyes, shimmering with moisture. It was a knot in my heart, my unwillingness at being deceived. The rising steam from the medicine blurred her outline, but I could clearly see the teardrop hanging from her lashes, until you burst into my life, and gave me our adorable, gentle son. My Adam's apple bobbed as I swallowed the thickness in my throat. That's when I finally understood. True love isn't the status or identity you brought me. It's the warmth of you feeding me medicine at 3 in the morning. And how you cried even earlier than I did. When Ian said, Daddy, for the very first time. I placed her hand firmly against my ribcage. Now, every bone here is carved with your name. Her fingertip brushed against my heartbeat, and she suddenly trembled. Because the rhythm inside my chest matched perfectly with Ian's steady breathing from the next room. I looked at the beautiful woman in front of me, and said solemnly, Wife, I love you. Her eyelashes fluttered, and she nestled softly into my arms. On the other end, Uncle Morales glanced at the barely human, half-ruined Fernando and called me for instructions. Young master, how do we handle him now? From the other side came Fernando's hoarse roar. Claude, you bastard. Even if you know everything now, I'm not afraid of you. So what if you're the richest man's son-in-law? If you kill me, you'll pay with your life. You won't die a peaceful death. I listened quietly, a mocking smile tugging at my lips. Why would I kill you? Fernando spat a mouthful of blood, its dark shine chilling under the light. Claude, what I hate most is that look of yours. He yanked wildly against the chains, blood spraying onto the camera. Ever since we were kids, you're always so calm, so composed. Like the whole damn world is supposed to kneel for you. You know something? He tilted his head, eyes crazed. I arranged for Juliet to meet me on your wedding anniversary. Right on your marital bed, she was acting especially seductive. A wet, dark clot rose from his throat. Cough, cough. And you, working overtime that night. You looked just like a pathetic dog. Ha ha ha. I stared calmly at the screen as police sirens grew louder from afar. Fernando burst into hysterical laughter, his handcuffs clanging against the metal chair. Ha ha ha. The police are here. Claude, Do you see? This is Retribution. Uncle Morales adjusted his cuffs with leisurely grace and flung a stack of documents into Fernando's twisted face. Embezzlement in 2018. Intentional injury in 2020. The tip of his shoe lifted a photo. And this is last week's footage of you sending men to tail young Master Claude. High definition. When the police broke down the door, all color drained instantly from Fernando's face, through the reinforced glass of the police van. I watched him being dragged in like a dead dog. Then I slowly pressed the call button. Remember what you said? My voice was quiet, almost gentle. Some retribution arrives late, but it never forgets. I hung up softly and wrapped my wife tighter in my arms. Uncle Morales sent one last message. All taken care of. Fernando had a sudden psychotic break in the detention center, bit off 3 fingers of another inmate. I lowered my head and kissed the smiling corner of my wife's eye. On the bedside table, Ian's newest crayon drawing fluttered softly in the night breeze. 3 little figures holding hands. And above them, a sun carefully colored in with a golden crayon. The past had already become the past, and the future would surely be filled with sunlight.